The Black River continues to threaten homes in Williamsburg and Georgetown County as residents on the south side are urged to evacuate. We'll have a live report coming up.
So things are getting better in the Midlands. Things are about to get worse on the coast.
Plus, as people start to clean up, Governor Haley talks about the state of the flooding.
Finally, a day to dry out. Will we have another day tomorrow? I'll let you know coming up next.
Good evening and thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Brendan Clark.
And good evening, everyone. I'm Carolyn Murray. We are continuing our breaking weather alert tonight. Mammoth flooding still wreaking havoc across the state.
Yeah, from this aerial footage that you're looking at right here, you can see the rising river levels, which is the main concern for us right now.
That's why many schools have canceled classes. Williamsburg County schools are closed for the rest of the week. Also closed for the remainder of the week is schools and classes in Georgetown County. But all district employees who have contracts of 220 days or longer will report to work both days.
Dorchester District 2, Dorchester District 4 also closed the rest of the week. Staff in both districts should report to work. Berkeley County will return to school tomorrow, but on a 2-hour delay, and there's a 1-hour delay the rest of the week in Colleton County. We have a full list of closures across the Lowcountry scrolling at the bottom of your screen that you see there, also on our website. It's counton2.com. And new tonight, the Dorchester County Sheriff's Office says that man right there, Robert Boland, is the tow truck driver responsible for taking away several cars at the Francis Willis SPCA. And now he's been charged with price gouging. According to deputies, Boland was charging customers upwards of $250 when he advertised charging only $85 a tow.
That's right. He's been charged with 2 counts of price gouging during an emergency. He's also been cited for operating without a business license. The death toll continues to rise right here in the Carolinas. At least 17 deaths are being blamed on record for catastrophic flooding as well as record rainfall.
Yeah, authorities say at least 15 people died in weather-related incidents in South Carolina. 2 people died in North Carolina. Now, 2 of those deaths happened when a truck drove through a barricade, around a barricade, and was overcome by floodwaters in Richland County. A dive team was called in to perform a dangerous rescue. 3 people in the truck were saved, but 2 others later found dead. Today, Governor Haley said there have already been nearly 200 water rescues statewide, and she urged people to please respect the road closure signs and said drivers should expect to see more of them.
We have 409 closures right now, road and bridge closures. 141 of those are bridges. You will see that number go up. And the reason is, as the water is flowing downstream, we're going to continue to have to close more roads. We're going to continue to have to make sure that we're safe.
More than 70 miles of Interstate 95 still closed at this hour.
And the governor also said today that they are watching the water that's now heading our way from the Midlands.
So things are getting better in the Midlands. Things are about to get worse on the coast. And so we are going to continue to watch as the waters are moving. We have been through this entire process pre-positioning 48 hours in advance. So we are constantly 48 hours ahead of what's going to happen.
This water coming from dams breached in the Midlands, 13 total breached or have failed across the state, and crews are monitoring 62 others. This is new footage of repairs happening to Beaver Dam that was in danger of breaking up there in Columbia. The owners of this lake say it's stable and no one is in danger.
They've been able to lower water levels, so even if the dam breaches, homes should not be at risk. Trucks have been hauling large rocks to try and fill a hole that opened up sometime yesterday.
And people along the Black River in Williamsburg County are being urged to evacuate. Many roads closed, bridges underwater.
That's right, and that's where we find Christine Kohler, who's been talking to people who live in that area along the river today. Christine, give us an idea of what people are saying to you.
And it was different. You feel like
Well, I've talked to a lot of residents out here today. The biggest issue is that it's hard to get from one side of the Black River to the other. Talked to a resident earlier today who said the Black River is usually about 1/4 of a mile wide, and in the area around his home, it's now about 3 miles wide. That river is covering bridges from a little bit closer to Kings Tree up the river. And then here behind me, you can see that this neighborhood here off of Trestle Road as you head towards Andrews is underwater. A lot of houses threatened down the road, further down the road. And unfortunately, as you get a little bit closer to Andrews, those folks had a lot of issues with the flooding over the weekend from the rain and are now bracing for the potential of flooding from the river.
We were able to get out the house done about 6:15 or so.
Okay.
We were like this in the water. Right here, I'm standing right here, the water's almost like this.
Is that the water line right there?
That's the water line right there.
Sunday morning, Thomas Alford and his wife had to leave their home due to the flood.
The smell is bad. Normally I get up early on Sunday mornings, and I was up like about 5, shaved and showered to come sit down here to get my Bible and read a little bit and everything. Yeah. And I saw the water coming through the door. Didn't know how high the water was on the outside, but it was coming seeping through the door.
Alford quickly sprung into action.
And I wouldn't wake up. My wife told her the water coming in the house, so she came down and see what we could do about it. We look around, and before we could really think twice, it was above your knees.
So they decided to leave.
We was able to walk out, but we waded water up to our chest, to the highway out there. And that's my brother-in-law came up there with his truck and took us up. We went over to my sister's house.
While the water has receded, the Alfords are fearful the Black River will bring another round of flooding. I'm
thinking we were going to get hit again. And that's why we hadn't done anything I have applied to FEMA, but we hadn't did anything because I do believe the way that water's rising now, it's probably going to hit us again.
But the Alfords remain strong in their faith.
Hopefully, we can get it all we did. We're optimistic. We are faith-based people. We believe in God. We trust the Lord and everything like that. And we just believe we're gonna get it back the way it needs to be. It's gonna be some time. It's gonna take some time.
Yeah.
But prayerfully, hopefully, God will help us to bring it back. I'm optimistic.
And that's been the incredible part about the folks up here in Williamsburg and Georgetown County is that everyone I've talked to has been so optimistic despite the fact that they're dealing with something that's just absolutely devastating. Again, you can see down this road we've got houses underwater. One of the residents here on the road on Trestle Road tells me that there are another 4 to 5 houses further down the road that we can't even see from this spot here. They're continuing to watch it rise. They said it had been rising by feet. The good news is today it only seems to be rising by inches. So that is a little bit of good news, of course, not a lot there. Live in Williamsburg County, I'm Christine Kohler, News 2.
All right, thanks, Christine. So let's check in on these river levels now. We're going to talk numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to go straight to Storm Team 2 Chief Meteorologist Rob Fowler. Rob, this is unprecedented. People in this area, Williamsburg, Georgetown County, not accustomed to seeing this, are we?
Not at all. The good news is, Chrissy mentioned, is the fact that they may have reached their top level, but downstream, we've got to keep an eye on the Ashley, the Edisto, and the Santee. So the Ashley River, we don't have a gauge there, but what you need to do if you live along the Ashley River, just keep an eye on the water level as it continues to swell. Meanwhile, the Edisto River at Give Ann's Ferry, right now the flood stage, by the way, is 10 feet. We expect 16.8 feet by the time we get to the weekend, so this one is still rising. Meanwhile, the Santee River at Jamestown, the flood stage is 10 feet. This is the one we've got to keep an eye on because look at the graph. It will continue to rise, probably not reaching maybe 23 feet by early next week. So that's the one that will continue to rise. Meanwhile, Kings Tree, we mentioned the Black River. The flood stage is 12 feet. It already hit just over 22 feet yesterday, and the forecast is for it to continue to recede. So maybe they've seen the worst there on the Black River where Kersey is in Kings Tree. Meanwhile, just up the road, the Waccamaw, the flood stage is 11 feet. It was 16.1 feet today. And as we take a look at the graph, you can see kind of flat, if anything, receding slowly as we go through time. So again, as we mentioned, the Ashley River, we'll keep an eye on the Edisto and the Santee as well. We'll continue to keep an eye on these reports as well, getting good forecast information from the National Weather Service. We'll send it to traffic now, where we've got, again, some issues across the area. certainly we've seen just road after road after road closed. We'll kind of take you around the region. Right now, still US 17A road closed between 61 and 642. That's Dorchester Road. That has been an issue. We'll take you up the road in Upper Charleston County where 17, that road closed from Door Road to Seawee Road. A lot of other barriers up, as we mentioned. But if you're traveling 526 right now, not too bad at all. So things are looking pretty good. Your drive times downtown to Somerville, 23 minutes, 17 minutes getting to the 52 connector, 19 minutes West Ashley to Mount Pleasant. Just keep an eye on our website for some of the latest closings and openings on the roadways around the area. We'll send that back over to Brendan and Carolyn.
All right, Rob, thank you. And right now, continuing our flooding coverage, News 2's Macy McLeod is live in Somerville at the Club of Legend Oaks neighborhood. Macy, what does the scene look like in Somerville where you are? We're going to go to Macy right now for the very latest on conditions there in Somerville. Hey, Macy.
Hey, Carolyn, that's right. I'm here at the club at Legend Oaks neighborhood, where you can see behind me this truck is driving through the water right here. The water is up over the streets. Now, this neighborhood is situated on a golf course, so those golf course ponds are filling to the brim and overflowing into the roadway. You can see up here there's one to the left, one to the right, and they are basically meeting in the middle in the roadway here to form just one big lake in the middle of the neighborhood. Neighbors tell me at some points the water is up to 3 feet deep, and while it hasn't entered any homes yet, it is damaging air conditioning units and cars. They tell me that it's also displacing a lot of wildlife. Neighbors have seen fish and snakes swimming through the streets. Alligators are going and sunning themselves in people's driveways. So it's causing a lot of issues in this neighborhood. The National Guard is out here delivering hundreds of sandbags, hoping to keep that water at bay. I'll have more for you guys coming up tonight at 6 o'clock. Live in Somerville, Macy McLeod, News 2.
Okay, thanks, Macy. Another area of concern, Colleton County. We want to go now to Jeff Patterson. He's from our sister station, WFLA. He's live in Cottageville. Jeff, what's it like out there?
Hey, good evening. It's actually looking like the Edisto River has well overrun its banks. We are in Colleton County now. We're actually closer to Jonesboro. We've moved. We've been talking with emergency management officials out here. Spoke to a volunteer fire rescue team that is doing swiftwater rescues, and they have been running nonstop since about last Friday. A volunteer told me that they've pulled people off of roofs, out of homes. They've helped with dogs and cats and other pets, but they're basically telling people who live in the low country that this isn't the worst. Even as bad as this is on the Edisto River here, the river has not yet crested, and so they're advising people, if they can, to lock up, leave their homes. They've been running, as I said, nonstop, exhausted crew that I spoke to a little bit ago. We also spoke to some sheriff's deputies from Charleston County, and they're just trying to make sure that they're keeping this area safe. But as you can see, the Edisto River, we're a good ways away from where the banks should be. But we've talked to some people, a homeowner who lives just down there. He said this is about the 8th time his home has flooded. The volunteer I spoke to from Fire Rescue says he's lived here his whole life and has never seen anything quite like this. Obviously, you all have been dealing with this up here for a while, a considerable amount of rain that the area has experienced. And it's just amazing to see the resilience that we have seen today that people are experiencing in this area trying to deal with these problems.
All right, Jeff Patterson down in Colleton County. We appreciate that report. Now, the sun is still out and parts of our areas still flooded. News 2's Travis Rice took to the skies to get a better perspective on the flooding and the damage it's done.
High above the low country, the story and scale of the flooding is apparent.
That's right there. That's where it really tells you how fast it's still coming through. Damn, even as of yesterday.
Ever since the sun returned, Dylan Keels of Holy City Helicopter has been flying contractors around assessing damage, and Wednesday he took me up.
It looks as bad, if not worse. Like more water is flowing now.
And all that stuff is coming from the upstate down here.
Yeah, some of this is, it's the Ashley River. But the Edisto's not far from here, and it's pushing water across.
The Ashley River, still claiming part of the Ashboro subdivision in Somerville, floodwater stopping before the community swimming pool.
And right here, where the river ends, is where it blew into the neighborhood right here with these houses. All these these riverfront houses. This is the access point where the water made its way in.
In Berkeley County, the Cooper River full as evident by water just below the docks. Meanwhile, the Santee River appearing to have receded since the weekend with the water line at the bridge supports. However, the most natural visual testament to how wet it is, miles of the Francis Marion Forest ponding as the sun reflects on its surface. Travis Rice, News 2.
And over to Johns Island, if you need to get there tonight, you better hurry. Deputies open Main Road at 2 o'clock this afternoon for people heading onto the island only. It'll be closed again at 6 o'clock tonight because of high tide. Representative Leon Stavronakis posted on Facebook that the traffic situation is unacceptable, and he and Councilman Elliott Summey will try to expedite the road improvements. Remember, you can stay on top of this breaking weather alert 24 hours a day by downloading the Storm Team 2 weather app or by heading to our website, counton2.com.
And our website contains a list of cancellations and closed roads. Also, don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Just search WCBD. Keep it right here. We are coming right back.
Days after the flooding began, the cleanup just beginning for thousands of people in the Midlands, and many of them are coming home to find that they have lost everything.
Mike Manzoni of our sister station WSPA is live in one of the hardest hit neighborhoods in Richland County. And Mike, you had an opportunity to talk with some people whose homes were absolutely devastated.
Yeah, in fact, I followed two of them around this morning. We were with them as they walked in for the first time since the flooding to try to salvage what they could. What they found was that there wasn't much left, and what they did find had to be thrown out. Take a look at that pile behind me. You'll see a lot of those on this street.
You can see how high the water got.
Today, they came home.
It's gone. The baseboard's buckling out.
To find everything they had is now gone.
Bring it out.
The only clothes Sharice Middleton has left are soaked.
I can't open it. I guess it's from the water.
Her back door is jammed.
Cushions wet.
And all her furniture is ruined.
It's hard, and I try to hold it together for my girls because I don't want to break down, because if I break down, then they're starving. So I have to put the best on the outside.
I don't know if that's as high as it went or when it started receding.
Just a few doors down, Tim Sharp is just starting to clean out the mess the floodwaters left inside his house.
It's hard to describe. It's until you've been in it, you look at everything that you've worked hard for, and it's just gone.
Their neighborhood looked like this just a few days ago after a nearby river overflowed and flooded entire streets. Some people walked away with whatever they could carry. Others left on boats and left everything behind. Now the water's gone, but Middleton says there's no way she'll be able to move back in, at least not for a while. And even if she ever does, she says it won't be the same. But she is alive, and for that, she's grateful.
Life is precious. You can replace all of this, but you can't replace life.
The man you saw in that story there actually grew up in that home. He now lives in the upstate, but he says that he actually just got rid of his flood insurance a couple weeks ago after he had it for 40 years. Of course, he regrets that decision. Both of those people I spoke with say they don't expect to be able to move back into their homes until after the first of the year. That is at the earliest. For now, we're live in Irmo in Richland County. Mike Manzoni, News 2.
All right, thanks a lot, Mike. At least we saw the sunshine for the cleanup today. That certainly was a welcome sight. We're getting it here late this afternoon as we're looking live over the skies of the College of Charleston. Looking fantastic through the night tonight. Mostly clear, 71 by 7 o'clock. Got that sweater jacket ready again for tonight. Mid-60s by 9, low to middle 60s. We'll see you again back here for News 2 at 11. Out to dinner tonight, looking good, 71 degrees. We'll give you the green light out late. Up early as well, around 60 degrees. A lot of the school systems still closed. Some are back in session. Here's the way it looks on Storm Team 2 radar. The best news we can give you is we've got at least one, maybe 2 more really dry days before our next best chance of rain comes in. See this cold front moving across the plains. That one is our next rainmaker as it's going to be pressing down to the east and southeast over time. We'll see a better chance of rain probably by Friday. In the future, though, the short range future looking good. Here we are into Thursday morning, dry. Then we'll move it through 5 o'clock by Thursday afternoon. Fantastic. You can start to see the effects, the impacts on that cold front moving in from the north and west. Here's our Saturday morning picture. Looks a little bit soggy from especially 95 eastbound. And then by Saturday afternoon, more widely scattered rains. We're not looking at big time deluge, but certainly some areas could pick up a trace to maybe up to an inch in one of the heavier thunderstorms moving this way. 78 on the hour in the Holy City, 81 in Columbia. Fantastic, beautiful temperatures back out towards Birmingham at 86, 80 for Atlanta on the hour. Right here in our own backyard, plenty of late day sunshine. 77 Moncks Corner, Walterboro at 79. To the coast where it's in the mid 70s from Folly all the way down towards Kiowa. 59 degrees, mostly clear. I love that. Rain chance 0 for tonight with the northeast wind at 5 to 10 miles an hour. More of that yet to come for tomorrow. Sunshine 82. That'll be our 3-degree guarantee with the northeast wind at 5 to 10. So as far as our Fowler factor for tomorrow, more sunshine. We'll give it an 8 on our scale of 1 to 10. Probably should be a 10, especially after what we've gone through. Here's your 7-day forecast. 82 for tomorrow. Low 80s on Friday. A few more clouds. And then the chance of rain ramps up. 79 by Saturday, starting to dry out again on Sunday, all the way into next week and Columbus Day. Here's your beach 7-day forecast. We're at 79 for tomorrow, 80 on Friday. Then the chance of rain at the beach will increase to 50% on Saturday, diminishing a little bit to 30% on Sunday. You see temperatures generally at the beach in the mid to upper 70s coming up this weekend. As always, you can get the latest Storm Team 2 weather forecast by tuning in our favorite radio stations, doing a great job during the recent flood event, and continue to help us out each and every day. Z93 Jams, one of the stations to turn to. You're watching News 2 at 5.
One of the things that Governor Haley has been saying for the past couple of days is that this is a time to help your neighbor.
It sure is. News 2's Ashley Yo spoke with some people in a North Charleston neighborhood where one man made daring rescues.
Gary Pearson lives here on New Ryder Road, and he's no stranger to floods. He survived and helped others survive Katrina, and then he moved to North Charleston. Since he's been here, his house has flooded 4 times, but that hasn't kept him from helping his neighbors around him.
These families' homes are at the bottom of the hill, and when the water comes in, it gets deep. So Gary Pearson became a one-man rescue crew last weekend. Phyllis Gadsden lives across the street. She got emotional talking about what Pearson did for her blind husband when his medical bus could not get home through the water.
He said by the time I could step out or try to step out the truck, Gary actually lifted me up, put me in his truck, and drove me to my front door, up to the door, so I would not get wet from the flood. I get so emotional when I think about it.
He used that same truck to evacuate Latrina Frost, her husband, and their 2 little girls.
You know, if it wasn't for him, I don't know what we was going to do, because my husband and our car was already up the street, so we didn't have nowhere to go.
And Pearson had his own problems to worry about. The house that he and his pregnant wife live in saw almost 2 feet of water. Instead, Pearson was concerned first for the safety of his neighbors.
I hope everyone's out, everyone's safe. I hope nobody's sick. And it was just scary worrying about them, worrying about my family.
He survived Hurricane Katrina after his house was destroyed and was one of the first with feet on the ground to save others as a Seabee in the Navy. He says this storm reminds him of the emotions felt after Katrina's devastation hit the Gulf in 2008.
Just as bad, just as emotional. Everybody's got something to lose.
The storm itself was not as severe, but he says it's the fact that this is the 4th time this street has seen major flooding. The sun is out and the rain has gone, but the damage of the storm is still here. Today, the families on New Ryder Road attempt to start over, but they're left waiting.
What do you think is the biggest thing that you and your family and then this community also is facing right now?
The next rain.
And this is an emotional time for those 3 families and the rest of the families that live in this neighborhood as they throw out their stuff one more time. But these 2 women could not reiterate enough just how thankful they are for Gary Pearson. On New Rider Road, I'm Ashley Yost, News 2.
Great to have neighbors like that.
Yeah, quite a story there. One other big change from today that a lot of people are talking about, the fact that the South Carolina Gamecocks supposed to play LSU, Louisiana State University, this Saturday at Williams-Brice Stadium in Columbia, but that is not going to happen. They're looking at other stadiums, possibly in Charlotte, but they have decided that they will play that game this Saturday at 3:30 in Baton Rouge over there at LSU. So that's a big change. If you bought tickets to this game, they are not valid in Baton Rouge. So be warned there.
That is not good news for a lot of people, but those are in fact the breaks. And of course, we will keep you posted if there are any further developments. Meanwhile, we of course want you to stay right here at News 2 at 5:30 is straight ahead. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Carolyn Murray. Flooding still a major issue right now in some areas, especially around rivers in the Lowcountry.
The 3 areas we're concerned about, which I want to recap one more time, the Mingo Creek area, the Black River, and the PD. Those low-lying areas toward the center of the county are where that we have the most flooding and the most concern. And what we're asking our residents to do, if you live in those areas, to be very vigilant, know what's around you, and be prepared to evacuate if the situation warrants.
While evacuations are not mandatory, as you just heard, Georgetown County officials are encouraging you to evacuate if you live in Oatland and Dunbar communities. And that's because of flooding. People in the area no longer have access to roads, so Georgetown County Emergency Management will come and pick you up. They are taking people to Browns Ferry Elementary School, and then those people will be taken to shelters. If you do not see one of these vehicles, you can call this number 843-545-3273. Again, 843-545-3273. Now, unfortunately, pets cannot be taken from your home, but they will be allowed in emergency shelters. Let me clarify that. You can take your animals away from your home, but you cannot take those animals into emergency shelters. The Santee River also a major concern tonight. How badly will it flood, and will Jamestown also have to be evacuated? News 2's Raymond Owens asked those questions today, and he begins our team coverage. He is live in Jamestown on the Santee River. Raymond, give us an idea of how things look there.
And you know, I was here at the same boat landing 2 days ago, and if you remember, we were actually live at the same time over here by the stop sign. That's the at the stop sign there is the boat ramp. This is actually a parking area next to a boat ramp, and that's where the water line was. The water line was actually about that point even yesterday. But folks say all this new water coming into the area has them really concerned.
People are really concerned, especially people that live back down roads coming toward the river.
Courtney Beaufort is just one of many people concerned about the Santee River.
Well, it looks like it's probably come up about 5-6 feet, especially with all the water in the woods right there, because that's a drop.
At about 8 last night, the river was at 17.5 feet here. At 1 today, it had risen to 18.3.
But I heard the governor say that this is going to be worse than anything that we're used to.
The river is being monitored from the air and from the water. Representatives from the U.S. Geological Survey out of Atlanta are on the water. They're using this orange device, an acoustic Doppler current profiler. It sends signals into the water to measure how swift and deep the current is.
It's important to a lot of different people, the public, as well as a lot of decision makers, EMAs, and any other decision makers.
Some residents aren't taking chances, planning to leave even without an evacuation.
I spoke with one gentleman. He says he'd rather leave the house than let them find him there dead.
And joining me live now is Jamestown's Mayor Roy Pipkin, and you were telling me you just had a chance to speak to some of the emergency folks in the area. Tell me what they are telling you about Jamestown and how concerned you guys need to be.
Well, I just got off the phone about 2 hours ago with the Santee Cooper rep for the EOC, and ask him about the water levels, how high it's going to come. It's going to be about 23.9 feet is their prediction. It's going to crest on Monday. And in order for the Jamestown proper to flood, it would have to get to 34.9, which would be equal to a dam break. And so he doesn't think that we're going to have many problems with water because of the elevation in Jamestown. So we feel pretty comfortable that we will not have a water problem or a mandatory evacuation.
Well, that's very good news here for Jamestown. I hope things work out like that. And that's basically the latest here in Jamestown. It looks like there definitely is an increase in water, but it might not get too bad, right?
Right. It's right now somewhere around 16.9 to 17. It was 15 yesterday, so it's coming up about a foot or two, as my calculation is not scientific, per day.
Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and send it back to you guys in the studio.
All right, Raymond, we appreciate that. Major flooding is imminent in the Low Country as floodwaters continue to move downstate toward coastal towns around our area, the coastal communities. And as we told you before, some areas in Georgetown are being asked, not forced, to evacuate because roads may be washed out, making it difficult for anyone to get around. Our team coverage continues right now with Jeff Patterson. He is live in Georgetown at Greenfield Plantation on the banks of the Black River. Jeff, you've been there for a couple of days now, so you've seen how the flood waters are changing that community. Give us an idea of what's happening there now.
Yeah, it may not be mandatory evacuations for some people, but we saw places today where there's basically no choice. I mean, this is the Black River. It's rushing by here very fast at Georgetown right now. But we went out on a boat today with E.W. Lawshie from Andrews, a man with a boat and a very giving spirit. He's been helping a number of his neighbors try to evacuate, try to get out of their homes. We saw water today over the tops of some homes, up to the second story of two-story homes. We saw boat docks that had been washed away, boats that have been flipped over, docks just torn away from their foundation. So this has been a very difficult thing for these people as they have tried to get out the belongings that are the most important to them.
Important stuff to us, personal stuff. Just quilt my mama made, you know, pictures of my grandparents and things like that.
All right, so we did see the river today about 2 miles outside of its banks, and here's something coming down the river. It's a Black Hawk helicopter. We saw that a lot today in the area we were. We saw a Coast Guard helicopter that was trying to help the residents there, just making sure that everybody in this area is safe, evacuating those that they had to. People like E.W. Lawshie just volunteer. He's the kind of neighbor that you want, a guy that's just willing to help. Just kind of an amazing effort to watch him and his family help people get out their pets and anything they could out of their homes as the water has been rapidly coming up.
All right, Jeff, we appreciate that. Jeff reporting from Georgetown along the banks of the Black River. We want to go straight now to Storm Team 2 Chief Meteorologist Rob Fowler. And Rob has been watching river levels for days now. In fact, Rob, give us an idea of how things look in the coastal areas.
Yeah, we'll kind of go river by river and the gauge by gauge as we've been doing for the last few days or so. Of course, the Ashley River, unfortunately, not a good gauge along the river down to the tidal area we do, but it is swollen, so we've got to keep an eye on that certainly, and we ask you to be diligent and certainly beware of what the water is doing. Meanwhile, the Edisto River, we've got a gauge at Gibbons Ferry. As we check that out, you can see the flood stage is actually 10 feet, generally about 16, a little over 16 feet today, expected to crest on Saturday about 16.6 feet, so we'll be keeping an eye on that. Jamestown, we just saw Raymond Owens talking to the folks up there along the Santee River, and again, we already saw and heard some of those numbers, but basically today around 18 feet, expected to crest around 23.9 feet as we get into Tuesday afternoon. And again, flood stage on the Santee is about 10 feet, so well above that already. The Black River, that's created a lot of problems. Our gauge is at King Street, but as we heard last last night. Takes a little while to get that water all the way down to, let's say, into Georgetown County, but it is actually receding, but it's well above flood stage, which is 12 feet. So again, it's going to take a while for that water to recede. And the Waccamaw River heading up towards Conway, again, keeping an eye on that as well, because that water's got to flow southbound heading down to Georgetown. The flood stage is 11 feet, generally about just over 16 feet, coming down slowly as we head into the weekend. Any way you slice it, we certainly have to be diligent and keep an eye. And keep in mind, Carolyn, as we mentioned, you heard, these are forecasts, so it's not a done deal that these are the numbers we're going to see. They certainly can fluctuate a little higher or a little lower, but I think to err on the side of caution, just make sure you know where to go in case you do have to evacuate. Back to you.
All right, good advice, Rob. We appreciate it. You know, many schools have canceled classes tomorrow. Williamsburg County schools are closed, also closed classes in Georgetown County, but all district employees who have contracts of 220 days or longer will report to work. Now, we've also learned that Dorchester District 2 and 4 also close tomorrow, but staff in both districts should report to work. There is a 1-hour delay in Berkeley and Colleton counties tomorrow. We have a full list of closures and cancellations in the Lowcountry scrolling at the bottom of your screen right now. You can also find this list on our website. Just go to counton2.com. Many people in Dorchester County are already dealing with flooding from this week, and now we have another concern, the Edisto River. News 2's Megan Dice joins us from along the banks of the Edisto.
We're in the Givens Ferry State Park here in the Ridgeville area, and I want to give you a good look of what this used to look like. The Edisto River, of course, is behind us. You can see this used to be a parking lot, and Mike will give you a really good look. You can see the 2 trees there. You can see the stumps now buried. There's handicap parking there. This is supposed to be a parking lot here, and now it is completely taken over with the water. We talked to a park ranger here who says he's never seen it this high, and he's lived here all of his life. So right now we're at 16.02. It's forecast to rise to 16.8 Saturday morning, where we're going to be staying in that major flood stage early into next week. And of course, that has Dorchester County Fire and Rescue making a lot of evacuations and rescues here.
What's making it hard is for the infrastructure and the bridges going down and making it hard to actually get to them. We're having to cut through places of Colleton County down 61 or going out back to the interstate. Highway 78 is being shut down where those bridges are closed. So it makes it a little bit harder to deploy and the resources taking them longer to get there.
Now, we spoke to Dorchester County Fire and Rescue, who takes care of this part of Ridgeville. They tell me that they have 80 people coming in today to help with evacuations and rescues throughout the weekend. We're in Ridgeville. Megan Dice, News 2.
All right, Megan, thank you. Meanwhile, Charleston County Council Chairman Elliott Summey, along with other council members, are working to fix the traffic problems on Johns Island. Main Road has been closed several times in the past few months because of flooding, especially over the last several days. But last night, they decided to fix the problem using sandbags, as you could see, and something that they believe might work as a short-term plan.
We were having inundation again from the tide coming up, and it was knocking our sandbags over. And so we said, you know what, we got together and said, you know what, we're going to throw something at this and see if it'll work. And I think it's worked. We got 2 lanes of traffic open.
Once the water recedes, they will raise the road, which will then help as a short-term solution. But after that, council plans to widen Main Road, add a flyover at Main and 17, and then work on a global drainage solution.
News 2 at 5 is just getting started.
More issues in Columbia after devastating flooding, how the city is trying to fix their drinking water problems.
Slowly but surely, traffic is getting better, able to move around just a little bit better than we have been each and every day this week. But again, still have some trouble spots. Downtown, there's slow go, East Bay, all the way out towards the James Island connector, heading over the West Ashley bridges as well. And right now, the Ravenel, not too bad, backing up as we get into Mount Pleasant. That's kind of typical. Heading out towards the merge, coming around the Don Holt Bridge. Looks like a disabled vehicle is slowing things down both directions there, all the way heading out to 26. Savannah Highway, outbound, inbound, as you can see, moving but at a slow pace as it normally does this time of the year, or time of the day that is. 24 minutes downtown to Somerville, 18 minutes downtown to the 52 connector. That's not too bad. 24 minutes will take you all the way around the Horn, West Ashley to Mount Pleasant heading eastbound. Another beautiful sunny day, looking at mile marker 203 heading westbound on I-26. Follow us on Twitter. All the latest information at Drive Time Alert. You're watching News 2 at 5. Putting the wraps on another beautiful day, looking live from the River Room Restaurant in Georgetown, getting a chance to see the blue skies, and obviously the water levels will be watching. But as we heard officials say earlier today, getting in and getting through Georgetown right now, the city of Georgetown looking pretty good. Other parts of the county having some issues. 75 degrees, 7 o'clock, all the way across the board. We've got mainly clear skies. We're at 69 by 10. We'll see you again in the studio, News 2 at 11, in the upper 60s as well. Here's the way it looks on Storm Team 2 radar. Another very quiet day, not just here, but really all the way around the southeastern United States. You do notice, though, a cold front, some showers breaking out along that front. That's going to be our next weather maker as we're getting moisture being worked in from the Atlantic Ocean ahead of the cold front. And again, the reason we mention this is it does promise us some rain as we get into Saturday. The question is how much. Some of the models backing off a little bit on the rainfall totals, which is great news for us. So we'll take our future radar into 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. A few clouds mixing in with the early morning sunshine. That's about it. Then as we get into tomorrow afternoon, looking pretty good for high school football tomorrow evening. Then Saturday morning looks like the clouds will start to overspread, but it looks like the rain's going to hold off until probably after lunchtime. And you can see some of those showers, even a few thunderstorms breaking out as we get into Saturday evening. But as we look into Sunday morning, most of the rain should be offshore, and then we'll continue to clear out for the rest of the day on Sunday. Rainfall totals, our models again continue to back off just a little bit, but generally from a trace, maybe up to an inch if you get caught in an isolated thunderstorm. But for the most part, this is going to kind of slow down the receding, the recession of the water. But in terms of compounding the problem too much, I don't think that's going to be the case. 78 Greenville, 78 in Charlotte right now. Some 80s back out to the west across Birmingham. And right now Huntsville at 83, 89 degrees over in Memphis, Tennessee. Around the Horn we go from Pawleys Island 77 to Orangeburg 81, down to Walterboro low 80s, all the way to Kiowa Island at the Sanctuary where it's 78 on the hour. 62, mostly clear. Rain chances nil tonight with an easterly wind at about 5 miles an hour. Tomorrow we'll throw a 20% chance of rain in there, just really an isolated shower if it occurs at all. Still plenty of sunshine, and 83 coming at you for your Friday. The Fowler factor for tomorrow will back off just a little bit. We'll go 7 with a few more clouds coming in, but still looks like a pretty nice day. Here's our 7-day forecast. Overnight for tonight, we're at 62, 83 then for tomorrow. Then you see the chance of rain ramping up to 70% on Saturday, and I'm going to keep some rain in there on Sunday in case that front slows down. But if we do get rain, it's going to be in the morning time. Then it'll start to clear out. Right now looks pretty good for Columbus Day, heading back to work and school next week with high temperatures in the mid-70s if you have to go to work and school. Meanwhile, the 7-day beach forecast, 80 degrees for tomorrow. Then the chance of rain at the beach, 60% on Saturday, 60% then on Sunday morning. But it will cool down behind that front. Don't forget, you can always check us out on the radio. Our Storm Team 2 forecast, 95SX Hit Music Now. Carolyn?
All right, Rob, thank you. A woman who was sucked into a drainage pipe by floodwaters in Conway Sunday is reunited with the 3 officers she calls her heroes. Amber Lloyd met the officers Wednesday after being released from the hospital. 2 police officers were on their way to work when they saw Lloyd in trouble and stopped to help her. Lieutenant Scott Bauer, who was also off duty, saw the 2 officers and he stopped to help too. Sunday evening at around 5:30, Lloyd and her boyfriend were walking down the road taking pictures of the flooding when her boyfriend slipped and fell into a drainage ditch. While Lloyd was trying to help him, she was caught in a fast-moving current and then sucked underneath the roadway through a drainage pipe.
Without the man, I wouldn't be here. And, you know, to me, he might think he's just another person, but I mean, he's my own personal hero, because if he wasn't there, then I wouldn't be either. I got extremely, extremely lucky that day that they were there.
It could have been my mama, it could have been my sister, you know, just did what somebody else would have done.
What was kind of going through your head in those moments?
Just gotta save her.
Another example of why officials are warning us to stay away from dangerous areas. Don't walk around and try to take pictures. When officers pulled Lloyd from the water, she'd been underwater for 2 to 3 minutes and was bluish purple with no sign of life. The officers administered CPR and continued to help her until her eyes and lips showed signs of improvement. Hundreds of animals rescued from floodwaters. We have the latest from the Charleston Animal Society. That's coming up next.
In the next 12 hours, Georgetown will start to flood. It will get worse, and it's going to last up to 12 days. So this is an area where if you are in the area of Georgetown, you are going to see people coming and knocking on your doors, telling you to get out.
Charleston Animal Society flooded with animals needing to be rescued. This morning, the Humane Society stepped in. Meteorologist Kyle Dennis has more from North Charleston.
150434?
Yes.
Okay. Is he the last one? Yes, he is. All right.
Hey guys, I'm here at the Charleston Animal Society where in the recent flooding, hundreds of cats and dogs have come in. They are way over capacity here, but something very exciting is happening today. The Humane Society has come to take 40 of those dogs to take them to other shelters to kind of help these guys out, but there are a lot more animals here that need adoption. So let's talk to Joe Elmore. He's the CEO of the Charleston Animal Society. Great to see you, Joe. So tell me some of the numbers. I know this is going to help, but you have a lot more inside.
Right. We can only hold 240 animals in the shelter. We have about 700 animals. Most of those animals, about 400, are in foster homes. But the more people that are impacted by the flooding, more of those animals are coming back into the system. And we're anticipating some more evacuations, which will cause more animals to come into an already overcrowded system. So the Humane Society of the United States has partnered with us to take out about 40 dogs today, and then we'll make room for a little bit more, but we're still overcrowded. So we need folks to come out and make room for one more animal. Even if you're not looking for a new animal to adopt, but you know you can provide a good home, you have outdoor space, please come on by this weekend and then next weekend as well through next week. We're going to have a lot of animals in here.
Now, what about people that are interested in fostering? What's the best way to get involved with that?
Just go to our website, charlestonanimalsociety.org. You can call in, but the phone lines are really ringing off the hook. We're trying to assist other organizations around the state at the same time, so we're in touch with them. You may not get a call answer or call back immediately. Bear with us. The best thing to do is to go to the website.
All right, Joe, thanks a lot. charlestonanimalsociety.org if you're interested in adopting or fostering. Guys, back over to you.
All right, it's time for our weather picture of the day. Thanks to Grace Popelka. Goes to Mason Prep. Got a nice sunny day. Love the beautiful clouds in the sky as well. And Grace wrote her name in the sunshine. Well done there, Grace. Hey, kids, send us your weather pictures to 210 West Coleman Boulevard, Mount Pleasant, 29464. You can email the pics if you like, weatherartist@countont2.com. Grace Popelka from Mason Prep. You're our weather artist of the day.
Live with coverage you can count on. This is News 2 at 5:30.
Good evening. We are going straight to Dorchester County, where Governor Nikki Haley wrapped up a news conference that we brought you live just a short time ago. That's where News 2's Macy McLeod is right now. And Macy, the governor stressed that people in the Georgetown area, some special areas, need to be ready to evacuate if they are contacted by local authorities.
That's right, Carolyn. I'm out here at the Dorchester County Emergency Operations Department, where Governor Nikki Haley just wrapped up that press conference addressing the expected flooding coming here to the Lowcountry, and that was definitely the focus. She emphasized that although it may not be rainy or windy right now, flooding is still a serious threat. Governor Haley arrived in Dorchester County on her helicopter and says on the way they flew over much of the Palmetto State, seeing just how full many of the rivers are. She says property is not worth staying behind after you are asked to evacuate.
There is no ambiguity. What it means is if somebody knocks on your door, the water's coming, your property is considered vulnerable, and you should leave.
And Governor there has been some confusion about Georgetown's vulnerability and exactly which areas need to evacuate. Governor Nikki Haley did address that today, and she says that they are leaving it up to Georgetown's local emergency management department to decide which evacuations are needed. And she says that if you are in danger, someone should come to your door and let you know that you need to leave. Live in Somerville, Macy McLeod, News 2.
All right, Macy, we appreciate that. And meanwhile, we are going straight to Georgetown right now to clear up some of the questions that people might have about the need to evacuate if and when. Jackie Broach with Georgetown County is on the phone right now. And Jackie, thank you very much for speaking with us. We know this was something that officials, emergency management officials, wanted to make sure that people were certain of what the governor was asking people to do.
Yes, I think that this was a case, as I understand it, of her just urging people to be extra cautious. You know, in emergency management, we always worry that people are going to be complacent. We see that mostly with hurricanes. You know, we haven't been hit in a long time, so we worry that people won't be, you know, reactive and willing to leave when they are asked. In that case, or in this case rather, we're kind of seeing the opposite. People, I think, maybe misinterpreted her comments is what we're hearing a little bit about. Right now, we have a lot of people who seem to be panicking out there, and this is not a countywide event. This is very select for certain parts of our area. The Pawleys Island area right now and the city of Georgetown, we're not really urging people to leave those areas unless they really feel like they are unsafe. You know, anybody who feels unsafe in any area of the county can certainly leave. We don't want anybody to stay here and feel unsafe.
Jackie, let's talk about those specific areas, pardon me, where people
no, you're fine.
Certainly should be more mindful of the need to leave their homes and get to shelter as soon as possible. What we heard from officials in Georgetown earlier, the area near the Black River, the PD River, and also Mingo Creek. Do you agree with that?
Yes. Also, two communities in particular, the Dunbar community and
Oatland as well?
Community.
Okay.
Yes.
So again, if we could stress those
long
5 areas, certainly we understand it, and we appreciate all that you've done, Jackie, to keep us informed and to keep those communities informed, as well as the other emergency management officials in Georgetown. Again, the areas are the Black River, the PD River, Mingo Creek, Dunbar, and Oatland. People in those areas, because the waters will change so quickly, you are being advised to be more mindful, more vigilant, and perhaps to seek shelter now rather than waiting.
Of course, yes.
We also understand that some people have been rescued already. Do we have an idea of how many people have been rescued and the situations they were in prior to being evacuated?
What we're seeing right now is primarily we have rescues going on in the two communities we mentioned earlier, Oatland and Dunbar. What has happened there is that the only highway into those communities has been flooded out. So we're primarily urging them to get out now because it's going to take a little more effort to get them out later. It'll take a little more time. We don't want to wait until it's too late and a vehicle can't get in there. So in this case, it's better for them to go ahead and leave. Again, it's not a mandatory evacuation, but we are strongly urging people in areas where you do not have access to get out to go ahead and leave.
All right. And Jackie, Rob has a question for you, but we also wanted to make sure that people know that there are shelters there. They would be taken to the Browns Ferry Elementary School. Is that correct? And that pets are not allowed.
Browns Ferry Elementary School is actually not a shelter. That is just a staging area where people from these communities will be taken. If they can arrange shelter for themselves, that would be a good place to have somebody meet you and then take you. If they do want to go to shelter, we have one of those open at Pleasant Hill, one in Andrews, and one at Beck Recreation Center in Georgetown where we can transport them.
Okay, and we have that information on our website, counton2.com. Jackie, thank you for the clarification. Rob has a question.
Yeah, hey, Jackie, this is Rob Fowler, Chief Meteorologist. A lot of people are asking me about getting through Georgetown, heading to Myrtle Beach. A lot of people have business going to and from Charleston to Myrtle Beach. We've heard differing views about whether they can get through and have issues or no issues. What can you tell us about the travel on Highway 17 from Charleston through Georgetown to Myrtle Beach?
Right now, Highway 17 is open, I believe, all the way through, and we are not anticipating that to change anytime in the immediate future. I would expect it to be open tonight and tomorrow as well.
Thank you, Jackie. Again, a lot of folks are asking about that specifically because, again, as you well know, major corridor up and down the coast of South Carolina. Thank you for all your hard work. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Rob. Meanwhile, we're going to go straight over to our chief meteorologist right now for the very latest. He's been watching these river levels and certainly how it's changed along the coast where we are, Rob.
Yeah, absolutely, and this is changing by moment, day by day. And again, some rivers haven't crested yet, others have, and they're receding, but it's a very slow recession. So let's kind of take you river by river, some of the ones that we've been kind of mentioning across the area here the last few days. A lot of you concerned about the Ashley River. A lot of folks live along the Ashley River as we get closer to the coast. We don't have a good gauge along the river upstream. We do in the tidal areas, but basically it is bulging somewhat, as we've seen in some of the neighborhoods that have been flooded. So we've got to be diligent there and certainly keep a watchful eye. Meanwhile, Givens Ferry along the Edisto River, this was the latest gauge that I pulled down this afternoon. Basically, latest observed value just over 16 feet. Flood stage is 10 feet. It's going to be fairly flat, but coming up just a little bit as we get into the weekend, about 16.6 on Saturday afternoon. We've talked a lot about the Santee River up around Jamestown, the gauges there, and this is the one we're probably most concerned about because, again, you can see right now the value is just over 18 feet. Flood stage is 10 feet. We expect it to crest well over 23, almost 24 feet as we get into the weekend and early next week. Carolyn, obviously we'll be watching as the water continues to flow from the upstate and the Midlands all the way down to the coast.
All right, Rob, thank you. We want to show you this amazing video. Coast Guard crews evacuated an 88-year-old woman and her 2 grandchildren from their home in Andrews yesterday. She is the grandmother of one of our former photojournalists, Sydney Swales Brand. You may have seen Sydney's work. She's an incredibly talented photographer. The crew was assisting flood response efforts when a crew member spotted the 3 waving their arms and standing in a field. Her home was nearly submerged in water. Sydney told me that the water really went up to people's chins, and we are so happy to see her grandmother has safely been placed and moved away from her home. Meanwhile, a lot of people were cleaning Columbia neighborhoods today, and we got an exclusive look inside one person's home. Karen Hood said that she lived in this house for about 12 years and never imagined that she would be in the position she is today. She and her family had to escape their flooded home around 5 o'clock Sunday morning through a window. There was about 4 feet of flooding in her house, but Hood said that some houses nearby were completely destroyed.
Mike over here, they were trapped in the house. The water was in the house as high as the windowsills. And I said, don't open the door, don't come out through a window, break a window. And so we're pulling each other out.
Amazing story. Hood showed us her newly renovated kitchen that she cooked in for the first time Saturday. And then, of course, her home damaged Sunday. Despite the devastation, Hood says that she and her family are some of the luckiest ones considering what her neighbors have had to deal with.
Coming up on News 2 at 5.
I'm Jeff Patterson on the Black River near Georgetown, South Carolina. Coming up, we're going to take you out on this river to show you the devastating impact it's had on people's lives.
Within the next 72 hours, Jamestown. Flooding from the Santee is already going to be an issue, but that's going to combine with Lake Marion hitting flood levels, and if that spills over into the Santee, that's going to be extremely problematic.